So we were at Civo Navigate in Tampa more recently. We were out there because we were supporting Civo. We used their platform for defense.com, and it was because we've got some experience in securing containers and providing that sort of level of security to businesses. But yeah, we're hearing a lot about the general challenges around cybersecurity in this space. It's quite a tricky area to cover, mainly because there's just not a lot of knowledge out there. We talked to quite a few customers actually, and when you start explaining that you've got some knowledge in Kubernetes, they're always shocked and surprised and sort of take a bit of a step back. Because I think a lot of the industry, when you talk about it in general security industry, not many organizations are providing services that can support it. So yeah, we talked about, we had a main stage talk, which we just covered the general basics of cybersecurity. We also had a hack that we did, and we wanted to see how well our audience understood container security. So we basically got one of our penetration testers to come up with this kind of hack. I said, what are we seeing in our customers' environments? Are we seeing anything that you're surprised about, or customers are more surprised about? Sometimes it's sort of interesting to get somebody's reaction when they go, well, how the hell did you do that? I can't explain how you would have done that. So we thought, that's such an interesting idea. Let's put that in front of people in a talk, especially in a team, in an area where you're at an event where there's experts in the field, and get them to sort of see if they can work it out. And we gave them enough that they should be able to understand it. But yeah, really surprised that somebody came over and almost word for word sort of understood how we would have achieved that goal. But I think it's because they live and breathe it. They're kind of in the environments every day, day in and day out, and they just need somebody to frame it in the right way to say, this thing is exploitable, how do you do it? But I think that there's still that kind of lack of thought in many people inside of an organization when they're building the products. They're not thinking, they can do it, they can understand it, they can conceptualize how it might happen, but are they thinking about that when they're going through the process of, okay, I'm building this thing, the business has asked me to build this thing that can do whatever, for us and support our customers, but then it needs somebody else to take it out of frame for them almost a bit and just step to and say, well, wait, okay, have you thought about the security aspects of stuff? And sometimes that's been met with, oh, you're just trying to slow things down. So that's why when we did our workshop, the idea was, if you can think like an attacker in your day job, then you're just naturally going to be thinking a bit like that. You're going to take a step back and go, oh, wait a minute. If I was to exploit this system, I would probably use that as a method of exploitation. Maybe we should put some extra controls around it. Or this is something that's going to be exposed to the world. If we were to expose this to the world, what might happen? What's the potential for this? Well, if an attacker found it, what could they do with it? Could they exploit it in some way? How might they go about it? And often the developers and the DevOps engineers and the people in the background that are building this infrastructure have a better understanding of how that might happen. It just needs somebody to sort of point them in the right direction and say, have you thought about this? And oh yeah, actually, well, if we did this, they could do that, and all those sorts of things. And then we did a workshop, and the concept of the workshop was to do that same thing, almost like make people think of it differently. And I'm always surprised about this, because people will come along because they just like the idea of hacking and they don't have a lot of technical knowledge. But the great thing is you can teach people to hack with very little knowledge. Of course, yeah, the more complex vulnerabilities are very difficult to exploit. But the basics, actually, things like SQL injection and cross-site scripting and like general logic flaws, most people can understand that, and you can teach them how to do it. So it's great to see you get people with like almost zero technical knowledge that's sitting there and you're going, right, this is what SQL injection, you know how to use a website, we can show you how to hack it, sort of thing. So that's always fun. And interesting to see people's reaction when they can actually exploit something, because I think they feel a little bit more like a hacker, right? It's like they're taking them back to the movies where you can see somebody like tapping away a keyboard and exploiting systems, and they're going, wow, I'm actually kind of doing that, exploiting that. And the great, you always like want to understand how people feel about it when you're doing a workshop or a talk or anything. And it was great to hear somebody goes, oh, is this thing going to be live at the end of the workshop so I can show my mates and show some people in the business about how to hack some things? So that always, for me, sort of demonstrates they found it interesting, they learned something, and they could take something away. So that was cool. It was fun. Businesses now realise that in order to win more customers over and to maintain a level of security that they're comfortable with themselves and they can sleep easy at night, relies on them building security into their values and sort of something that's really important to their organisation. And you can certainly see from the event that's what's happening. Organisations are coming into these events to understand, of course, containers and things like that, but equally we're seeing that the security is becoming high on the agenda and people care about it and they want to improve their security for their customers, but equally for themselves. And that's great. I'm all for it. I think it's been a long time coming. We've been really struggling to get businesses over the years to put a significant amount of investment into securing their businesses, and that seems to be happening in these areas.